just in my living room here in Melbourne, Australia. It's just gone about 9:30 in the morning here on a Friday, and I've been up for a few hours now. I've got a bit of a routine I like to follow every day where I'll do a bit of journaling, I'll do a bit of meditation, I'll read some of a book, and there's an outdoor gym just near my place, so I just got back from doing a workout there. So I've come home, it's 9:30 in the morning, and really the day's only just begun. I've still got the whole day ahead of me, but I feel like I've accomplished so much already and that I've achieved so much, and it's easy to keep that momentum going for the rest of the day. And it's funny because I definitely wasn't always like that. Like, I used to be the sort of person who I'd set the alarm like 10 minutes before I needed to leave the house and get up and sort of be all frazzled and struggle to get out of bed and get going. And I never really like read books, or I never really had consistent exercise happening. And like, maybe you can relate as well, because I logically knew I should do all this stuff, but there's kind of a difference between what you should do and what you actually do. So maybe you've like signed up for a gym and you want to go every day because you want to get fit, but it's hard to find the time. Like, it always, like, the effort required, it seems like too much, and you're not seeing results, so it's hard to get consistent results in that regard. Maybe you want to like logically read more, like you want to read books, but again, it's just hard to find the time, and it's an easy thing to just let slip because it's one of those things that it's important but it's not urgent. So yeah, like, I've definitely been there, and kind of the way I've actually been able to introduce all these good things into my life and do them consistently and keep them as long-term things I do every day is, it's not because I'm like so special or because I've got like all this willpower or anything like that. Really, the main reason is because I've been able to tap into habits. So basically, all these things that I want to do every day and that I have been doing every day, I've managed to turn them into habits, so I don't even need to think about them. So there's a good book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. He basically says in that willpower's a finite resource, so you only have a certain amount of willpower every day, and you can't rely on willpower alone if you're trying to make changes. So if you want to go to the gym every day, you can't just like try and will yourself to do that every single day, because it's not sustainable long term. You can do it for a bit, but not long term. And what he says is that you need to start understanding how habits work, how habits are formed, and then actually introduce things as habits into your life, because that's the way to do them long term. There's another good book called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. He basically says in that the main difference between successful people and unsuccessful people, it's not what people a lot of the time think, where it's like one big deal that set someone's business off, or one relationship with someone that made someone happy. The reality is, for successful people, it's these small daily disciplines that they just do every single day. He says in the book they're both easy to do and also easy not to do, but the people who just do them every single day, it just slowly adds up and then compounds. So same like an analogy is money in a bank account. You don't get much at the start, but if you keep adding and you keep getting the interest, it eventually kicks up and you get that compound interest. So it's all about those daily habits and those daily disciplines. And really, the first time I noticed this phenomenon in my life was I used to do a lot of bike racing. And I had a big race that I was training for quite seriously. And I had like this plan all laid out. I had things to do every single day. So I basically was tracking everything I was doing and kind of ticking off each workout as I did every day. And I noticed that after a while of kind of having this accountability of a plan and sort of having someone to hold me accountable and then really tracking it and just marking it off every day, I noticed that after a while, I didn't even need to think about it anymore. I just kind of automatically trained. So at the start, obviously, there's a bit of willpower, and I found it hard to get out of bed and sort of go out in the cold. But after a while, I just automatically got up, chucked on the clothes, just went out for a ride, did all the efforts. So that's when it had really become a habit, and I just didn't need to think about it anymore. And I thought, like, what else could I apply that to? Because there was other things I wanted to logically apply to my life that I knew would help me, but I just hadn't been able to do it. So, like reading, for example, I was wondering, could it work for that? So I basically applied those same principles that I'd used for the cycling training to reading. And again, I just found that after a certain amount of time of following that system, it just became a habit. I just didn't have to think about it anymore. And again, so I tried it with like journaling and meditation, and again, the same thing happened. And now once they become habits, the cool thing is you can kind of stack them up. So you don't need to think about it after a while, and then you can start introducing new habits, and then they sort of just stack on top of each other, and they just compound in the long term. And really, to give you an idea of how those daily disciplines have added up for me, like with cycling, I've probably in the past few years, I've ridden about 50,000 kilometers, and I haven't even really thought about that. That's just sort of happened on its own. Like, obviously there's a bit of effort involved, but I haven't seen it as like something I've really consciously put a lot of effort into. It just happens. Same with reading, like all these books on this shelf here I've read in the past year and a half or so. And with meditation, I checked the app that I use, which is Headspace, a few weeks ago, and I saw that in the past year I've meditated about 60 hours. So I've literally sat in a chair meditating, like clearing my thoughts and sort of getting that headspace for 60 hours, which is over 2 days of just sitting in a chair, like having that mental clarity. And same with journaling. In the past few years I've filled out about, I think 5 or 6 full journals just on my thoughts and sort of having that brain dump. So you can sort of see how these all do add up in the long term into big results. So it might not seem like a lot on a day-to-day basis, but long term it really does add up. And because I saw like the power of the system in my own life, I kind of had it in my head, but I never really sort of put it down into like a physical form. So it's actually why I created this thing here, the habit planner. So it's basically just that same system that I've used that was just in my head to introduce all these good habits and keep them long term. I really just wanted a way to actually have a physical form of being able to actually do that for new habits that I want to introduce into my life, because you can always keep adding good new ones. So it's actually something I really just created for myself initially, because I wanted to have that physical form, but it can also help anyone really. So it's basically, if you want to introduce good habits, like I said before, like maybe you've signed up to a gym, you want to go every day, it's like logically you know it's a good thing to do, but you just find it hard to actually get that consistency and routine. The habit planner is basically something that you can use to help you achieve that. And I guess to be clear, like it's not meant to be a magic bullet or anything. Like you definitely still have to put in the work. I'm not gonna sort of say write down your goal and magically in 30 days you'll have achieved it. You do have to put in the work, and it does take some willpower at the start, but the reality is it's a tool. So it's gonna, if you use it properly and you sort of have the right mindset, it's going to help you achieve what you want to do. So if you've got any sort of daily discipline that you want to introduce into your life, then really the habit planner is something that's going to help you be able to achieve that. So yeah, like I said, I created it initially for myself, but I believe in it. I believe that it can help a lot of people. So yeah, if you want to check it out, I've got a bit more info below. You can buy it below. If you do, thank you so much. I hope it makes a big difference like it has in my life. Let me know what you think, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Alright, so I just gave a bit of background about the product really and sort of the idea behind it, but just wanted to show you the insides and how it actually looks. And to be quite frank, if you don't want to buy the thing, you could literally just watch this video and copy the ideas down into a blank journal if you wanted to. But yeah, I've sort of always found that having something fit for purpose and it was actually designed for that is always nice. So essentially, yeah, I'm quite particular with journals and stuff. So when I was getting this manufactured, I sort of went for all premium stuff. Like the cover material is really nice. It's got the debossed stuff, and the pages are really thick. Like I've tested them, and ink doesn't bleed through and all that. So it's a solid journal. So it's good stuff. And I guess to show you a bit of what's inside, like I've just got in this first section, just a bit of background, like what are habits, how do they work, how are they formed, just stuff that I've learned. And this isn't really my ideas per se, it's stuff I've learned from people a lot smarter than me. So from books I've read and people I've listened to, just about how habits work, and people who have studied them for years. And that's kind of what this book is. It's just what I've learned in the system I've had in my head, just put into a physical form. Like I said before, it's sort of, I created it for myself initially, but yeah, it can really help anyone. So to give you an idea of the layout, once I sort of give a bit of background on how it all works, there's two main sections. So there's a habit tracker and there's a habit builder. So they're the two main sections of the book. And there's two ribbon bookmarks in the journal here. So one of them is to mark your place where you are in the habit tracker, and then the other one is to mark your place in the habit builder. So they're the two main points you're going to be going back and forth between. And to give you an idea of how it all works, essentially you start off with the habit builder. So the habit tracker in the first block you don't have to worry about. The habit builder is what you're concentrating on initially. So this is where you're building the good habit and really monitoring it and making sure you're doing it every day. And I've basically got this page here, which is, I've always found that if you commit something to writing, you're always a lot more likely to follow through with it. So that's why I've got this page here. You basically write your name, your date, what you're planning to do for the next 28 days, and outlining like a reward if you do it and a punishment if you don't do it. And then you basically sign it. So call it a mental thing or whatever, but there's been studies that have showed that people who write down their goals and things they want to do are a lot more likely to achieve them. So that's why I've included that page there. So how do you choose a habit to build? There's a section on that in the book, but essentially it needs to be something you can do every single day quite easily. So a lot of people think that they can do everything at once, and they say, I want to do like an hour workout every single day for 28 days. And you might be able to do that, but that's kind of not the point. The main point is you want to just get into a routine and a habit that'll help you achieve more down the road. So for example, instead of saying, I want to work out for an hour every day, every single day, you might say, I'm going to do 10 push-ups every day. Anyone can do 10 push-ups, but the reality is if you do 10 push-ups, you're a lot more likely to then be motivated to keep that going and then complete a bigger workout or go to the gym or whatever. So it's just about those small daily disciplines that just add up in the long term and also get momentum going for other areas as well. So for example, here I've got read 5 pages of a book every morning. Anyone can do that. It's not a hard thing to do, but what you'll find is that if you sit down and you read 5 pages, you're more likely to read 10 pages or 20 pages or 50 pages. And that's the whole point. It's just getting your brain into the habit of doing it, and then you obviously scale it up later. So essentially you've got, for the 28-day block, you just follow the prompts. So day 1, if you do it, you just color in the circle, just date it, and then you just follow that every day. It's really simple. You just check off the marks every day as you go. And that's an example, and this is the actual first one. So fill that in. You got your first week, weekly review, second week, weekly review, third week, weekly review, and then final week ending at 28 days. And that's it really. So once you've done it every day for 28 days, that's one habit that you've built. And it's kind of open to debate exactly how long it takes to build a habit, and it really just depends on the habit as well. But some people say as low as 21 days, some people say 67 days, but reality is if you do something every single day for 28 days and you monitor it and you track it, the habit will be there. You'll be at least starting to get into the routine of just having it happen automatically every day. And the work's not completely done then. That's why there's the habit tracker, which I'll show you in a sec. But that's the first step. Just do that every day for 28 days. Once you've done that, what you basically do is you go back to the habit tracker section, which is the first page we had bookmarked. And so
for the first block, you basically don't have to worry about the tracker, as it says here. Just concentrate on the builder. But then once you've done that first 28-day block with the habit builder, you come back to here, the habit tracker, and you basically, this is just you monitoring long-term how you're going with the habits. So you don't have to worry so much about doing it every day. For the habit builder, make sure you do it every day. But for the habit tracker, it's more just you're monitoring. So you just want to see, you want to make sure that you're doing it a majority of the time, and you can kind of monitor that as you go, because you're going to have multiple habits in here. So if you did read the 5 pages of a book, you'd basically just put it in here, read 5 pages of a book, starting from whatever date, and then you're just ticking it off every day you do it. If you skip a day, then you don't mark it off, and it just gives you an indication of how you're going. Now, at the same time as when you're doing this habit tracker, you're now moving on to the second habit builder. So you're doing them both at the same time, and it might sound a bit complicated, but it's not really. Once you understand it, it's easy. So you've done one habit builder block. Now you start another one with a different habit. So if you read 5 pages of the book, you might come back and do 10 push-ups every day. So you're monitoring how often you're doing the reading 5 pages of a book in the habit tracker, but you're concentrating on building this next habit, which is the push-ups. And you'll see with the tracker, so after that first block there, once you've tracked that for the 28-day block, now we've got the next one, which has 2 spaces. So you'll have the read 5 pages of a book, and you'll have the doing the 10 push-ups every day, and then you're building another habit. And then after that block, once you've built the third habit, that goes in here. So you're just monitoring more and more habits and just tracking them long term to make sure you're still implementing them. So the whole idea is that after 6 months, you've essentially done the habit builder 6 times. There's enough room in the book for 6 habit building sections, and then you're monitoring and tracking those 6 habits as well at the same time. So essentially, that's it. You're basically just monitoring, you're building the habits, and then you're monitoring how you're progressing with them long term. Because if you think about it, like simple stuff like doing 10 push-ups a day sounds like nothing, but if you think about how that adds up with other things, if you're doing 10 push-ups a day, you're reading 5 pages of a book, you're meditating for 10 minutes every morning, all these things start to add up, and then you're more likely to do bigger things from there. So you're not going to just stop at 5 pages of a book. You're not going to just stop at 10 push-ups. So the whole point of it is that the habits themselves might not completely change your life in terms of 10 push-ups a day only gets you so far. But the idea is it gets you going and then pushes you to do more stuff long term. And that's really where the magic happens. It's those slight things that add up every day, and then over the long term, you just scale it up and you get big results. So yeah, that's how it works. If you don't want to buy it, just copy the pages from this video if you really want to, but it's worked for me. So that's the system I've used to basically read 60 books in the last year, to meditate every single day, to work out every day. It's exactly the thing that I've done, and it's worked for me. So yeah, hopefully it works for you as well. And if you get it, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It's a really good quality journal, if nothing else. As I said, I'm quite picky with it, so I'm really happy with how they turned out. But yeah, give it a shot. Let me know what you think, and I hope it helps. Thank you.